also an official contributor to Janus. And when a guy like Razvan contributes code to you and fixes something broken in your C plugin, you accept it right away, which is what I did.
Well, it wasn't bug, but it was a feature. So
Yeah, no, exactly. So you do accept it.
yeah.
So looking forward to his presentation also because he will explain a bit how he experimented with Janus and OpenSIPS to have them work together. So please, Razvan, thanks.
Thank you. So a few years back, when I first saw when I met Lorenzo and I saw his presentation about Janus, I said, "Wow, this is a very nice project. How do I get to use it?" And after that, I spoke a few words with Lorenzo. That's how we initially met during, I think, ClueCon conference, I believe. And we were trying to figure out a way of OpenSIPS to interact with Janus. And he suddenly stopped and he said, "Well, we have a SIP plugin." I said, "Okay, I know SIP. Let's do it." And there were a couple of years passed, and I finally managed to play with it. And that's what I'm going to present to you today. How I managed to integrate Janus and have it work together with OpenSIPS. And I'm going to show you a study case, the call center module that we are using, and how I made the two projects work in order to develop this call center application. A few words about me. I'm one of the developers of OpenSIPS. I've been working since 2010, so 9 years now. And throughout these years, I've been involved in designing and developing various platforms, having OpenSIPS at its core, but as well using FreeSwitch and Asterisk and stuff like that. And from now on, probably Janus. I'm also a speaker during various conferences like PastriCon, ClueCon, OpenSIPS Summit. I FOSDEM. And I'm also a teaching assistant at Polytechnica University of Bucharest. But I am not a web programmer, and I'm saying that not that it's a bad thing to be a web programmer, but this is my only excuse for the UI I'm going to present you a bit later. So bear with me. It's the first time I'm doing that. How many of you have heard of or have used OpenSIPS up until now? Quite a few. Thank you. So I will go a bit quickly. OpenSIPS is a SIP proxy or server. It's quite flexible. It has more than 100 modules that you can use to do whatever to do specific stuff with them. It's highly scalable. It supports thousands of calls per second and million concurrent calls, and all of that because it just handles SIP signaling. So it doesn't do any media related processing. This allows us to be very scalable, to use it as a SIP router. However, of course, we have a couple of limitations when it comes to like media applications. There are a couple of use cases. For example, you can use OpenSIPS as a session border controller or SBC. You can have it in front of your current VoIP platform. You can use it as a load balancer. You can do all sorts of trunking scenarios, residential scenarios. You can build virtual PBX application based on OpenSIPS and using its modules, as well as have it use it as a call center and queue manager. And that's what we will be talking about today. OpenSIPS is also a WebRTC server, so it basically uses the RFC 7118, which defines how to use plain SIP and transport it over WebSockets from a browser in order to create a WebRTC call. And the common scenario to a PSTN endpoint would be something like the browser sends a SIP using a SIP over WebSocket message down to OpenSIPS, and OpenSIPS converts it to a plain UDP and standard UDP packet. As OpenSIPS does not handle media will go straight between the browser and the SIP gateway. Well, anyone sees any problems here? how many gateways do you know talking SRTP? I don't really know that many, but I said none. There are probably a few. So in order to fix that, we need a separate or another component in our architecture, something like RTP engine, which is one of the projects that it's able to convert from SRTP to plain RTP and send it to a gateway. So this is how you can do WebRTC with OpenSIPS, and it works quite well. However, you do need some extra components such as RTP engine to do the SRTP translation. So now we're getting to Janus and why I wanted or why I wanted to give it a chance and see how it behaves with SIP. So what I will tell you what I know about Janus because it's probably not enough. But so it's a WebRTC server that has several plugins, for example, conferencing, streaming, and all sorts of media-related media-related application, which is probably which is one of the reasons why I wanted to see how it works, because it has a pretty powerful media stack, something that OpenSIPS doesn't have. So it's quite interesting to make the two projects work. And again, as I said, it has a C plugin. That's why when I saw that, I knew there has to be some love between the two projects. So how this will look like from a scheme point of view? So the browser will send a JSON using WebSockets down to Janus. That will convert to plain SIP. OpenSIPS will receive plain SIP and then send it to the gateway. Of course, the gateway can be instead of OpenSIPS. You just use OpenSIPS if you want to have some extra features, because it's again plain UDP here. From a media point of view, the browser will talk SRTP with Janus, and Janus will know to send RTP down to the SIP gateway. So there's nothing fancy about that. Now let's talk a bit about OpenSIPS Call Center, so we know exactly what the scenario does. So in OpenSIPS we have a module, it's called Call Center, which can define different queues. And you can attach different agents to the queues. You can have agents share or be part of different queues based on their skills. And how it works: calls are coming to OpenSIPS. They are put in a queue. Agents again log into OpenSIPS, and they are ready to receive calls from that queue. And of course, agents can log in and log out based on their status. OpenSIPS is also able to use a media server to play back some files. For example, if you are in a queue, you might want to hear something like, please hold on, you're in a queue, the call will be answered a bit later. Also, a welcome message can be played whenever you arrive in a queue. Somebody will say, welcome to our service, and then start playing the waiting message. Agents also have a wrap-up time. For example, if you have an agent that has just finished a call and he needs to complete the previous task, he has a wrap-up time, a time that he's not assigned any calls until he completes the previous call. Various call statistics, I think there are like 30. There are statistics per queue, statistics per agent, whether how many calls he answered, how many calls he abandoned. And based on that, you can determine the efficiency of your agents. And it's also very easy to fetch it using a REST interface to fetch the statistics. And the module can also generate CDRs, for example, how long a user is waiting, or the average time of a user waiting in a queue and stuff like that. So it's very easy to build your own statistics based on these CDRs. It's just post-fact statistics. And the way the entities work, so we declare queues, we declare skills, and we're saying, for example, to handle calls to this queue, there has to be agents that are technical. because otherwise they wouldn't be able to properly handle the call. And you can have as many agents that have different, for example, agent 1 has only the technical skills, so he will only be able to receive calls from support. However, agent 3 is both technical and he's a vendor. Let's say this is a hypothetical scenario. So agent 3 can receive calls from both support and sales queue. So you can share these skills among the agents. And this is like a state machine that about how OpenSIPS works. So when a call comes in, it is assigned to a queue. Then all the agents that are able to deliver that call, so they have the required skills, are selected. OpenSIPS checks if there's any logged agent, and if it's not, he will drop the call because there's nobody able to handle that call. But if there are agents, he will check whether there's any free agent. If it's not, it will simply stop and poll whenever a free agent, whenever an agent becomes available. Or if there is a free agent, then he will deliver the call to that agent. From the agent perspective, whenever an agent logs in or finishes a call, he will go to a wrap-up time. This means that the agent is initially not receiving any calls until he completes the previous task. So if it's not within the wrap-up time, it means it's free. So he checks whether there's an ongoing call in the queue. If there's no ongoing call, then he will wait for a call to come. And if it's within the wrap-up time, it will just wait for the wrap-up time to finish and the agent to recover, and then we'll go and loop here again and check whether there's any ongoing call. And if there is a call, of course, we deliver the call down to the agent. So in our setup, we will have Janus handle the agent side. So the agents will basically use a web interface to log into the call center. And OpenSIPS will handle the call queuing. So OpenSIPS will handle the PSTN calls from the SIP side and organize them in queues and deliver them down to agents. And in this setup, we will also use FreeSwitch to play some playback files. For example, the welcome media file or the queuing file. I'm not sure whether we can use Janus or not for this, because I know Janus has a streaming plugin, but I didn't figure it out how to use it. So for now, we are just using FreeSwitch to play these files. So this is my setup. As I said, we will have the agents within a browser. They will talk to the Janus server using WebRTC and the Janus protocol. They will talk SRTP to Janus. So this is a public interface of Janus. We will have OpenSIPS that will use a separate interface, a local interface. It's actually a local host here. OpenSIPS talks to Janus over the local host in my setup. And we'll also have FreeSwitch that only has the RTP ports open to the internet. So again, here it's a private, it's basically local host. FreeSwitch will talk directly RTP with SIP gateway for playing the messages, and Janus again will talk RTP, plain RTP to the SIP gateway, and OpenSIPS will do the SIP part and the SIP call handling. All right, so now it's demo time. This is the URL that you can access to become an agent. So if you want to be an agent in our call center, just go to this page. I will show you exactly how this looks like. So it's something like this. This is the UI that I mainly stolen from this Janus demos, which are open source. And thank you, Lawrence. I asked Lawrence before doing that. This is the best I could do. So bear with me. Again, I'm not a web developer. So here We can register or log in as an agent. For example, my name, I can log in as Razvan. Okay, and simply log in. What this does in the background is go to Janus and ask him to register Razvan. But it will also tell him that I have the support and sales, actually only the support skill. So how I did that, I used the headers that can be passed along the SIP message. I simply concatenate these skills that I set here. I concatenate them and put them in a special header that OpenSIPS knows how to handle. Um, there's also control panel here that I used for this setup. I only use two tools. One of them is the dial plan. Okay. Okay. So I use the dial plan rule in order to say that support calls here. So whatever calls are coming to the support, we should replace them with the queue name. In this case, capital S support. Of course, this will basically. I'm not sure whether you see that or not. I can increase the font a bit. Okay. We can add a new rule. For example, we don't need a regular expression. Sales. Okay, sensitive. We can use sales. So I added a new rule in for whatever calls are coming to sales at our domain will be translated to the support queue. And here we have the support the call center setup, where we have had agents. I see a lot of you already registered as agents. So some of them are only from support. Some of them are both sales and support, like Maxim. Thank you, Maxim. You're really intense. And others are just supports or sales. So I already basically I didn't set up any authentication because I wanted all of you to join the conference. And okay, so these are the agents. Here we can configure the flows. We currently have only two flows. It's support and sales, as you've already seen in the setup. These are the required skills for each queue. Here we can configure different welcome messages for each queue. For example, here we could say welcome to the support line of whatever company. So this is what this URI does in FreeSwitch. So we have a FreeSwitch extension that handles this. And then we have a playback here for the message waiting queue. Of course, as you can see, all of these can be customized, and if you update the FreeSwitch, extensions can be done. And what I can do now is, sorry. Call one of the support. Let's use Blink. So if I call to support at opensips.org, you probably don't hear. Okay, so somebody answered. So an agent is assigned. Who's assigned this call? No one? It's not me. Know that I made the call center an auto answer, so you are not asked to answer the call. You will probably be directly engaged. So we don't know who answered it. I can find out. Okay, I need a. Okay, all right. So it's the Mac. I don't have the dialog module loaded, so I probably can figure out now. I'll just make another call. I think there are no logged in clients now. Oh, yeah, so as you can see here, there are no logged in clients for the support line, so probably that's why the call was not answered. I won't, I already logged in mine, so probably if I start the call now, it will start, but I'll do it anyway. Come on. Okay, I have a problem with Blink. It's still not available. Okay, that's what I was talking about. So the call was automatically accepted by my agent, and you all heard what happened. Okay, so this was the demo. A few things that I learned from developing this. Uh, One of the issues that I needed was to have, as I said, OpenSIPS was discussing with Janus on the local host, so I needed a different listener for the media to, because media goes over the public internet, not over the local host. So that's why I needed to do that pull request, and thank you, Lorenzo, for accepting it. Another issue that I found is that the port in contact header is wrong, so sequential messages were not hitting the Janus. That's because although Janus was originating traffic from a port, it was advertising a different port. That's probably related to the Sophia module, and luckily we can easily fix that in OpenSIPS using the fixnat at contact. And another issue that I found is that I really need to learn more about web programming, because it doesn't look so simple as I thought it was. No, it's not. In conclusion, you can play with this yourself. I can open source this. It's not something that it wasn't that hard to build. You can use OpenSIPS in your own setup to do any queuing, in any queuing. If you need that, you can do it also in a distributed manner. Um, uh, and you will see that OpenSIPS, the call center module, is quite flexible. And it allows you to manage the queues dynamically, to manage the agents, log them in using different either SIP or pressed applications. So everything is quite flexible. I hope you enjoyed this demo. If you have any questions.
Thanks, Razvan. Very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Let's give a big round of applause for Razvan, please. Do you have any questions for Razvan?
Hi, thank you for an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Let me ask you something. How much those queues can scale? How big they can grow?
I've seen queues with like 10,000 calls in them and like 100 agents logged in. That's right.
If you go, for example, like 500 agents, can they be distributed?
Yes, you can distribute them and do a setup where you can actually the queues themselves cannot be distributed, but you can distribute the calls to the agents. So if you do that, if you have, for example, a load balancer that you use to distribute the first level of like entering the queue, you can have a load balancer to do that, and then distribute the agents, that can be done quite easy. So if you have like an SBC and the load balancer in front of the call center, then you can probably scale as much as you want.
Thank you.
Do we have any?
Sorry, probably dumb question. Can you also do SIP in and out? So you can have like SIP with SRTP coming in and SIP going out?
Yes, actually the demo supports that as well. So this agent can call to a, I don't know, if I'll call to SIP or this will be an outbound call to my identity. It will probably okay, it's ringing somewhere. Okay, I'll hang up. It's probably in my office because I have this extension already starting there.
Any more questions for Razvan? Okay, thank you, Razvan.
Awesome. Thank you very much for listening.